But I do want to say that I constantly read these definitions of performance art that say what it isn't. Performance art is not theater. Performance art is not something you can hang over the sofa. Performance art is not static. It doesn't say oftentimes what it is, but what it isn't. And I'd like to stress what it is. And this is probably the truest thing in the whole blurb about performance art. Performance art is an essentially contested concept. Any single definition of it implies the recognition of rival uses. In other words, there are no rules about what performance art is, and that is part of what it is about, performance art. Going back to prehistoric times, whenever the first human existed, I believe those people created a kind of performance art. We don't have any tangible evidence except for cave paintings and the occasional carved bone or fetish object from those distant times. A tribe in Africa that's been documented by this German photographer Hans Sylvester that decorates and ornaments themselves. And this is an example of their creativity, using the things around them, using mud, using flowers, using plants to make these fantastic ensembles that they wear and that are highly individual and not created and are ephemeral because they're made out of flowers and plants. They have to wash sometime and I guess the paint goes away. The Dada Manifesto, and Dada means nothing, actually. And this came about after World War I, when there was kind of anarchy and nihilism prevailing, and it was very anti-government, but very witty and fun at the same time, because it was all artists hanging out, getting together in a cafe in Zurich and coming up with this thing. And a poet named Tristan Tzara wrote this: I destroy the drawers of the brain and of, now these are words, but words are a part of performance art, and manifestos, remember, are a kind of performance. And of social organization. I spread demoralization wherever I go. Rest the fecund wheel of a universal circus to objective forces and the imagination of every individual. That's what he said. But Dada continued on with a lot of very important things coming out of it, like collage, constructions. All of these things were done in the early decades of the last century as part of Dada. So even though Dada means nothing, and it was officially not a movement, its artists were still artists, and they created some very important things that have had a tremendous influence on all art of the 20th and 21st century. There would be no Andy Warhol, there would be a whole lot of other people where they're not Dada artists. It was a reaction to war, and a lot of performance art is a kind of protest art. It's rejection of social order, now I'm being negative what it is, and it's, and tradition. Non-artists will create non-art. That was part of the Dada credo, since art has no meaning. But it really came out of it with a lot of meaning and import. And then in the 60s, you had Alan Caprow, who was a professor of art at Rutgers University that had some interesting students and cohorts. And they began doing what they called happenings. And these happenings weren't just live performances. They actually did installations, maybe the first, if you want to call it that, example of installation art. And they introduced all kinds of media, sound, dance, music, no music, and smell.